obviously key to just about everything. And so when this program came along, my wife and I thought, well, we're retired, we've got the time.
I thought it was amazing, and Mark's energy is just joyful and exuberant.
Well, I'm clapping because I'm, I'm very excited to be here. And just a little bit about myself. Born and raised pretty much in Western Pennsylvania. My family migrated out to this area, but I'm still in Western Pennsylvania. My wife, Beth, is a music educator, longtime educator. I was a longtime teacher in the classroom. I taught special education. I taught reading interventions. I'm a general education classroom teacher, and I also have secondary science certification. So I just think the world of all of you. And just to piggyback on what Annie said, literacy is half of the solution, right? Like, we have to know how to teach reading, we really do. And we're going to do these activities, and we're going to learn a little bit more about how to teach reading and wire the reading circuit. I'll show you the reading circuit. So I'd like to give you, the mission today is 4 to 6 activities that will work with your students. Students can have reading difficulties for many different reasons. They might have a reading difficulty because English is not their first language. These activities will help those kind of children. They might have reading difficulties because they have dyslexia. These activities will help these kinds of students to read. Students sometimes miss instruction, and on and on and on. There's all different reasons why students might have a reading difficulty, but at the base of it all is this reading circuit, and if we can get it wired, if we can wire this reading circuit, then children will really begin to read in English. You might not see it in a week or 2 weeks or 5 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, but it will happen, and you'll see some kids start to take off. They'll just start to take off because you're wiring their reading circuit. So I'm going to give you 4 to 6 activities for the reading circuit. So let's very quickly make a triangle. You got a triangle there, a little triangle, right? You know, this is the love thing. This is the triangle. This is the reading circuit. How many points are on there? 3, right? 3 points. And it looks like that. And this reading circuit that you're going to be creating is the 3 points are semantics and phonology and orthography. Those are pretty fancy words, semantics, phonology, and orthography, but what that means is meaning, sound, and spelling. Meaning, sound, and spelling. That the semantic is meaning, phonology is sound, and orthography is spelling. So it's meaning, sound, and spelling. What is it, everybody? Meaning, sound, and spelling. One more time, everybody.
Meaning, sound, and spelling.
Right, it's meaning, sound, and spelling. And today we're going to especially be concentrating on these two, on sound and spelling. We'll get some meaning in there. Reading is always about meaning. You want to know what it means when you read. It's the ultimate thing to achieve, right, in reading. But to do that, you have to have a firm foundation of sound letter relationships. And that is where the sound and the spelling comes in. So we're going to be concentrating on sound and spelling today, okay? All right, so let's get to it. Let's do an activity. We're going to stretch out some sounds of language, and I gave a handout. There's a handout on your table that should list each one of the activities that we're going to do today. So you let me know if you don't have it. May I borrow this for a minute? You know, it looks like this one. And the first one on there says, hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it. Hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it. Hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it. That's the one we're going to learn first. And this activity helps students hear the sounds in English language words. In our English language, there are 44 phonemes, 44 sounds. Spanish has a different number. And if you're speaking Swahili or something, or Hawaiian, it's going to have a different number of phonemes. But our language has 44 discrete sounds in it. So in order to help those children hear the sounds, to hear the sounds in a word, we are going to first hear the word. So you're going to say the word to the student. Then they're going to say it back to you. And then they're going to grab that word and stretch out, say it slowly, and then let it snap back together. And we're going to try to pick words that have some continuant sounds in it. That means that you can hold on to the sound. A sound like everybody say that, right, okay? Or ah, or, right, or shh, right. So let's use the word mash. The word is mash. What's the word, everybody? Mash. Okay, so you heard it, right? Then you said it. And now we're going to grab hold of mash, and we're going to say it slowly. We're going to pull the sounds. It's going to go like this. Mash, mash. Let it snap back together. Try that with me. You ready? Mash, mash. Right. That has 3 sounds. Ash. Hear it, say it, stretch it. And you always want to blend it back together. And you can choose all different kinds of words. You could choose a word like peg, which is a little bit more difficult because you can't really hold on to the p, can you? P, egg, peg. So we're going to try to do some just ones with word sounds we can hold on to, and then later you can have students grab hold of words that are more difficult to hold on to because they start and end with consonants that you can't really hold on to. All right, so let's try the word, let's do a little bit of both. Let's do the word lip. What's the word, everybody? Lip. All right, let's say it slowly. We're going to stretch out. Ready? Lip. Lip. All right, good job. And let's do one with 4. Let's do slip. You ready? What's the word, everyone? Slip. Nicely done. Here we go. Grab it, stretch it. Slip. Slip. Good job. All right. You figure out a word and do it with a partner at your table there. Okay, did everybody have a chance to practice one there? Now, this can get very tricky because as there are lots of sounds in English, some sounds are easier to grab onto. There are words that get more and more syllables. So when you start out, you want to really start out simple with these students. So you want to pick a word that has maybe 3 phonemes in it, just 1 syllable, work yourself up to 4 phonemes like flip, right? And after you stretch it out, you can segment those sounds a little bit more. Hear it, say it, stretch it, then tap it. Hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it. What is it, everybody? Hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it. Let me give you an example. The word is flip. What's the word, everyone? Flip. I'm going to stretch it for you. Just watch. Flip, flip. Now I'm going to tap it out. If you're working with young students, you could tap it out on your arm like this. Flip, and blend it. Flip. If you're working with older students, you could have them tap it out with their fingers. Pinky to pointer. What is it? Pinky to pointer, right. Flip, flip. Let's try flip on our arms. Ready? Flip, flip. One more time. Flip, flip. Nicely done. Give yourself a pat in the back there very quickly. Thank you very much. Nicely done. Flip. Let's try it with our fingers. Are you ready for flip? Flip, flip. Nicely done. That's hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it. You pick a word and try, do it with slim. Humor me. Pick the word slim and try it with your partner. Hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it. One little hint about this, well, let me give you 2 hints, everyone, or 2 little suggestions. One suggestion is have the students watch your mouth because they can get a really big clue as to how to form the sounds by watching their mouth. The English language might not be their first language, and I've heard that you're working with a lot of English language learners. It's with that tooth down right on your lips. So that might be helpful to have them watch your mouth. The second thing is that you want to you don't want to do too much of this This is like a 3 or 4 minutes of work. 3 or 4 minutes. We're not talking about 10 minutes of this kind of instruction. Why? Because we want to connect those sounds to letters. We want to connect those sounds to letters. So we don't need to do a whole lot of this. This is a warm-up activity. You can go back and forth between this activity and spelling, which I'll just show you in a minute. Okay? And I guess one final thing, I'm actually going to give you 3. I said 2, but I'll give you 3. One final thing is that when students get good at it, you might not need to do the stretching. Just hear it, say it, tap it. Hear it, say it, tap it. Or they might not need to use their fingers, because some students, you might say, tell me the sounds in flip, and they say f, l, I, p. That might be a couple months down the road, but man, they're really starting to make some progress. Okay, so you can start to move back on these things that support them, like all the manipulatives, which would be, in this case, your fingers. Okay, is everybody good with that? Nicely done. Okay, the second one I have on there is the tap it, map it template, and that looks like, may I borrow this again? This is kind of an extra set here, right? It looks like this double-sided sheet. And this sheet has 2 sides that look pretty much the same, but the second side, or the first side, depending on how you're looking at it, one side, I should say, has some little directions, some clues for you. It has a lot of words in it. Do you see that one where it says the teacher says the word, the student says the word? That's really like support for you all. So I put that in there for you. Second would be the side that a student could use. You could laminate this. I don't know what the program looks like, but you could laminate this, and then you could write on it with a dry erase marker. The student can write on it with a dry erase marker. You could put it inside a clear sheet and use that with a dry erase marker. Does that make sense? Right? Mm-hmm. And do you see our friend up there, hear it, say it, stretch it? Then what comes after that? Tap it. You can either tap it out with your fingers, or you could use these boxes and you could put pennies down on there, for example. Or you could use tokens, like if you have bingo chips. Like I was raised Catholic and we played a lot of bingo in our church. I don't know what you all here do, but if you have those bingo chips around, or any kind of a token like that, you can use those. 1 token or 1 penny per sound. So for the word flip, how many pennies or tokens would you need? 4. Good job, right. How about the word smile? Yes, M-I-L. You're fast learners. Give yourselves, shine that halo there. Shine that phonemic awareness halo. Nicely done. Yeah, so the student will hear it, say it, stretch it, then put down the number of tokens on there, or they can just tap it out on here. And then after that, the next step is to assign letters. Assign letters. I'm not going to get into complex letters like T, C, H, or O-I, digraphs. We're going to right now we're just going to stick with some simple words like the word slim, for example. So if we were to do slim, hear it, say it, stretch it, and then tap it. Slim, slim, slim. And then on my box here, I'm going to put down a penny, 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 penny. The first one represents s, then and then down here, how do you spell that s sound? S. How do you spell the sound? Does that make sense? How do you spell the I sound? How do you spell the sound? Point to it, s, and then spell it, S-L-I-M. And then what do? We read it. And then what do? We write it. And then they can read it again. Wow, look at all of these repetitions on one sheet. Woo, there's a lot. There's a lot on here because they tapped it out, they spelled it, they read that spelling, they wrote it, and then they're going to read it again. That's like 4 repetitions with a written word. And that's really what you want to shoot for. Lots and lots of repetition in different ways. Okay? Yes.
When you say read it, do you want them to read the letters or read the word?
You want them to take their finger and slide it along that arrow and read that word. Read the word. And they might need to slow down and say S-L-M, or you might need to go back because that 4 letters is too many. And you just want to do s-at, sat, and they might read it like that at first. S-at, then read a little faster. Slide that finger, say it all together, sat, sat. Does that make sense? And then write it, S-A-T, and then read it again, sat. Yes?
Is the student writing the letters in the spell boxes?
Yeah, yes, in the spell boxes, that's where the letters go.
And then they're writing it again on the right line?
Yes, yes, and we're trying to move back from these like handy little helpers to them, like these boxes, and we want it to look more like a regular written word down here. So we're scaffolding back, I guess is what you'd say. All these are great questions. Any more questions about this while we got this? You want to try one? Want to try doing the word, why don't we try slim? We did it earlier. You know, try, hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it out, point to the, or you could tap it here, or you could tap on there, or you could put like little dots in there as a reminder, then spell it down here in the boxes, read it, and then write it. Just do a little practice. So try it with your partner there. Try the word slim. Yeah, that's right. You can actually write it on there. That I wanted to address. One easy peasy one to address here is if you have magnetic letters and you're using this template, like like little blocks, little magnetic letters, that you could actually have them spell it with the magnetic letters that could go in there. And then just run your finger over there. You always want to blend these together. Don't make it too difficult. Slim might be too difficult, right? It might be too difficult. So kind of go back from there and talk about lap. When you sit down, this is your lap. This is your lap. Let's stretch it. Let's tap it. Let's spell it. Does that make sense? And then how do you figure out what words to use? Like what words do you use, right? That's a really good question. I don't have a list for you, but I think as your program continues to evolve and develop, you'll get a sense of this and you can talk amongst yourselves and kind of come up with a list that would work really well. Remember what I told you about the continuance. They're easier to start that way. So any word that starts with an L or an S or an F or an M or an N, those kinds of words are good words to start with. Good words to start with. And then think about what kind of vocabulary do these students need, or what kind of vocabulary do they know about? So certainly you could teach them about your lap, what a lap is. So that's a good word to do, lap. And then from there, you might say, well, let's talk about taking a very short sleep. That's called a nap. So that would be another one that you could do to build on there. Or you might say, old school, right? When you get this piece of paper out, that you probably never seen this, children, because we're all on the screens. But this thing that you fold out and there are roads on there, it's called a map. So you could do a map. So try to pick vocabulary that is meaningful to them, but also are the sounds and letters that you're working on with them. And this is where you as tutors, you're going to be using your brains and your common sense, because there's a lot of brain activity and common sense in teaching. You got to know the special things to do, but you also have to use your common sense and think about what would make sense in your program. It's going to match with the school. It's really kind of It's at a level that the students will be able to access, and you will see growth in them. And this will also work with, various computer programs. I'm not giving you a program. I'm not giving you a program. These are supplemental activities, but they're powerful. They're supplemental activities that are powerful. Okay? Are we good with those? Yes? All right. So we've got 2 down here. And I think I'm just going to just kind of veer off my scheduled program for just a minute here and give you one that's not on the sheet. I'd like to show you skywriting and palm writing, because these are multi-sensory activities that you can do with a word like lap. We'll use this word right here. And I'll give you a picture of skywriting. That's what it looks like in a classroom. These children are doing letters, but we can also do skywriting for words. We can also do skywriting for words. So let's imagine that we've given the word lap. The word is lap, everyone. What's the word? Lap. Let's stretch it out. Lap. Lap. Right, and let's tap it out. Lap. Lap. Right, or we could do it on our arms like that for sure. And then instead of spelling it on our template right away, we're going to spell it in the air. Or maybe we spell it on the template and then we spell it in the air. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Skywriting, to write it in the air like that, you use 2 fingers. How many fingers, everybody? 2. 2 fingers, right? Your arm is extended fully, like this, right? It's extended fully, and watch me first as I do lap, okay? And then we'll practice lap. I'm going to turn my back to you, and it looks like this. Lap. You say the word and you go across the midline. You say the word as you go across the midline, lap. And then you spell it in the air. L-A-P, lap. And you do that 3 times because students need repetition. How many times do we do it? 3 times, all right? And it's great to get kids out of their seat for a moment, have them stand up. So do you have enough room to stand up? Let's do it this way. If you want to stand up and give your bum break there, you can stand up and just scooch out a little bit. So, all right, and we're going to make sure your arm is straight. Don't bend your elbows. Keep your arms straight and go across. Ready? Lap. And then it's spelled in the air. L-A-P, lap. Do it again. Lap. L-A-P, lap. Do it again. L-A-P, lap. All right. Nicely done. Was your elbow straight? Yes? Okay. Did you cross the midline? 3 repetitions? Okay, good. Kiss the brain there. Give your brain, kiss the brain. Nicely done. Okay. That's skywriting. Skywriting is excellent to do with sight words. What's a sight word? A sight word is a word that might be more difficult for a student to sound out, and therefore they just kind of have to use some just kind of strict memorization at this point. So, and it also might be a word that doesn't really mean anything. Like the example I use a lot, and we can practice this. Is a sight word oftentimes is the. 3 letters, right? But think about this word. That's also 3 letters. Dog, right? But this word's a lot harder for some students. And there are some specific reasons for this. One reason is the sound doesn't really match the letter. It doesn't match that. And another reason is, can you picture a dog in your mind? Does anybody have a dog? Yeah, okay. You know what he feels like and smells like and all that kind of stuff, right? How about the? Right, so that makes it harder for students to grab hold of. So the would be an excellent one to do skywriting on, because you're just like, this is the word the. What's this word, everybody? The. Let's skywrite it, let's do it. We'll do it real quick. The T, H, E, the. Right, and then we would do that how many times? 3 times, yeah. And then maybe we want to follow that up with a little bit of palm writing. So grab your imaginary pen. Got it? What color ink do you have?
I have red.
Oh, nice. Okay, so your ink might be red or purple or whatever, and then you're going to do it on your palm. Let's do the. Swipe it, the, then write it. T, H, E, the. Do it again. The. T, H, E, the. Do it one more time.
The. T, H, E, the.
Nicely done. Yes. Yes. Say yes. I don't know if the program is doing like letter formation and things of that nature, but some letters you reach up to the skyline and you pull down. And letter formation is important, and you do want them to be learning the correct way. But there are different ways of teaching printing and letter formation, and I don't know what they're using in the schools or but if you know that the letter should be pulled down, then teach them that. Or if you know that the letter starts on the ground line like this and then pulls down below, it goes down below the ground. Some people call it the worm, you know, down to the worm line or the worm area because it's going down here like in dog. It starts here. This one you pull down from the sky. This one's on the ground and then goes down below the ground. Those kinds of instructional things. But letter formation and handwriting and printing and things like that, there are different ways of teaching it. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds with it right here. But the short answer is yes, if you know how it should be formed, teach them that. Okay, so I do want to keep going, but you got those 2 multisensory, right? We did skywriting with our arms straight, 2 fingers, and then we did palm writing. Okay? Oh, and I just very quickly, just a little bit of theory. The reason that you go here and do it this way is the theory is that you're crossing the midline, and that's going to help to wire the 2 hemispheres by crossing the midline. Lots of midline crossing activities. You can have kids do activities where if you just want to have fun with it, they start here on their thighs, and then very quickly they reach up and grab their ears, cross the midline, and then do it the other way. Like so your right hand, like that. Or, yeah, so I mean, I guess I'll stop with that one. But those kind of activities are all crossing the midline. That's why we do this swiping. And then you want to use 2 fingers and a fully outstretched arm because that helps to activate more nerves in your arm, more muscles, and that's going to wire that reading circuit, hopefully. That's the theory at least. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're lucky in a way. You're so lucky because 1, you get to work with the kids and help the world, and 2, reading is really interesting. It's amazing. It's a miracle, right? Reading is it's like a miracle. People have been reading, human beings have only been reading for about 6,000 years. So prior to that, there was no reading. So that's why you have to wire the brain circuit. And that's why we have repetition, 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 right? So that we can get it into the brains. Some children will learn quickly, others it takes more time. Others, if you have like a disability or a difficulty like dyslexia, it really takes a lot of time. But the activities are the same, okay? Okay, very good. Let's go on to making words. Let's do a making words lesson. So you want to find in this envelope here, there are some little letters. As you see on this sheet right here with the activities, making words helps students with spelling patterns. You're going to be creating chains of words. One tiny word, the next tiny word, the next tiny word, but you're always working towards a secret word. A secret word, and it's a big word. That's where the excitement comes in. And the big word might be something like cupcake or skydiving or something like that. We're going to pick some easier words, a word like magnet or a word like goblin or insect, something like that. And so what you need to do first of all is you need to figure out what your big word is going to be that you're going to be working towards. And your program is going to help you out with that, to pick the right words. But you can see on here, do you see the fourth bullet on this white sheet? I gave you some words there that would be good for your students to work towards. Maybe not at first, maybe this is going to be too complex for them. This is like maybe a month down the road or 2 months down the road. But sunset, because that's all short syllables. S, n, sun, set, right? So we're going to have the secret word that we're working towards. And so what you're going to need to do is go to your magnetic letter kit or some kit that you have, or make letters like I made for you, and pick out all the letters that you need for your secret word. So the first secret word, well, I'm not going to tell you what the first secret word is. I'll tell you what the letters are that you need. I wrote this down. So you want to find the letters N, P, K, A, I, and then another N at the end. One, two, three, four, five, six. Do you have 6 letters? Okay, 2 N's, an A and an I, a K, and a P. You got that? Okay. And then we're going to use the same kind of methodology, hear it, say it. I think that's important with your students, to hear it and then to have them say it back to you. And you're going to take your little letters and you're going to form the word. And we're going to start out very easily. The word is in. What's the word? In. 2 letters. Spell in for me, please.
I-N.
Yeah, and you don't even have to like verbally say it. You can just put it down there and spell it with your letters. And I'm going to be like moving around between my students, right? Seeing how they do, give them a little reinforcement, a thumbs up, a pat in the back, a kiss the brain, shine the halo, whatever. Okay, and then we're going to say, let's add 1 letter and make a word that means family. And that word that means family is kin. Kin, you are my kin. And then I might say to my students, who spelled kin? Who wants to volunteer on how to spell it? Right? And if anybody's brave back there, they might say K-I-N, K-I-N. Then I might say, take off the first letter and replace it with a new letter to make the word pin. Pin. And we might stretch it out, or we might tap it out, in, to give them some extra help, right? Because they might want to know what sounds are in there. Pin. And then the next one might be, take those letters and move them around to make the word nip. 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 And then I might say, how do you spell nip, Norm?
N-I-P.
Yeah.
Nip.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this, but Norm actually did this along his arm. You will see kids do that. You will see them do that, which is a beautiful thing. Yep. N-I-P is nip, is nip. And then you might want to say to them, nip is a small, like, bite. Like your dog might give you a nip, because this is where you can bring in meaning. Because these students are going to need meaning, right? Like, explain to them what a nip is. But folks, the first thing you want to concentrate on are sound letter relationships. So go there first. Where are you going to go first? Sound letter relationships. Yeah, I would go there first and then bring in your vocabulary. And just tell them what it means. You could say, what does nip mean? But I would suggest, in order to save time and to be powerful effectiveness, just tell them. And then say, what might give you a little nip? You know, then you could ask them that question. All right, we good with that? Nip. And then I might say to them, oh, take out a letter, or I might say, take out the middle letter. I might be very specific and say, let's make the word nap. Nap, like you're going to take a little sleep. Nap. Nap. And we spell that N-A-P. P, right? And then I might say, take all 6 letters. We've spelled in, kin, pin, nip, and nap. Take all 6 letters, and I might say, see if you could find the magic word. But that's pretty sophisticated. That's pretty sophisticated for your crew, right? This might be something you do 2 months from now or 3 months from now. But for right now, I'll say this. You figured it out. You're a high flyer, Vanessa. Yeah. Well, just for fun, do you want to try as adults to see if you can figure out what that magic word is using all 6 letters? You could totally do that. You could say put nap and kin together, and what word do you have? You could just be very direct and explicit and say, the secret word today, I'm just going to give it to you, napkin. See if you can spell that word, napkin. So do you see where this is all leading up to? All right. Let's do one more, and we'll do it more quickly this time. Okay? So this time, we're going to use these letters. This is a good Halloween word. And some of you high flyers, you might figure this out right when I give you the letters. You're going to need a G, and an L, and a B, an N, an O, and an I. Give me a thumbs up when you have your 6 letters. The back table looks like they're ready to go almost. Okay, good. How about up here? Good, good, good. Yeah, all right. All right, good. All right, we're going to start with the word in again. Spell the word in, everyone. Use 2 of your letters. In. Add a letter and spell the word bin. It's like a box that you can put things in. A container is a bin. And then I might say B-I-N, or I might ask my students for bin. Then let's take off 1 letter at the end. Let's take off the N and add a letter that makes the word big. And then take out a letter to make a new word that says bog. What's the word, everybody? Bog. That's like a marsh, like a swamp, lots of water. Bog. And then take off a letter and make a new word that is log. Okay? And in my neck of the woods in Western Pennsylvania, we have these desserts. It's chocolate cake on the outside, creamy icing, white icing, vanilla icing on the inside, and then another piece of chocolate cake. It's round. Some people call them whoopie pies, but we in Western Pennsylvania take great offense at that, because we don't believe they're whoopie pies. We call them gobs. It's called a gob. So make that dessert in Western PA, gob. And then if you want to try to take all 6 letters and see if you can find the magic, the secret Halloween word, or you can just give them the word, and the word is, anybody who knows it? Goblin. Yeah, goblin, right. And then you could talk to them a little bit about a goblin. Or not. You could use a different word. On the nose. This is designed to be physical, all this stuff. Because I taught special ed for all those years, you have to keep students engaged, right? Because they come to you and they're antsy and they're fidgety. They had a long day at school. They're already tired. It's been difficult for them. And so, like as a tutor, you're thinking like, how can I keep my student engaged? And if you have them doing things, it really helps. And it's something other than just constantly writing with a paper and pencil, right? Was there another comment or yes, right? Or question?
You've taught us how to skywrite.
Yes, sir.
When will the pencils come into play?
The pencils can come into play on this one right here, or the markers on this one. They can definitely come into play on that one.
Okay, so they actually will take a pencil and write it.
Yes, yeah, for sure. They're going to take a pencil, and after they read it, they're going to write it down here, and then they're going to swipe and read it again. And I'm going to give you another pencil task, a printing task, in just a moment. Any other questions about about anything that we've covered, or about the making words there? Do you know what as a tutor, what the most difficulty with this task is? Because you want to kind of troubleshoot before you get into the weeds. Yeah. Kids will lose the pieces. First of all, you got to get the pieces, right? So someone's going to have to figure out the word and then get the pieces out. And then they are manipulatives. They fall on the floor. Kids, what do they start doing? They start moving around. They're going to play tiddlywinks with them or whatever. So it might help if you give them, like you might say to them, I'll give you 1 minute. I'm going to set my timer. You have 1 minute. Just see if you can just move them around a bit. Move them around and see if you can make a word, or just kind of like feel how they slide around and things like that. Kind of let them get it out of their system, and then move to the activity. So that is, you do have to figure out the word, and you do have to get the letters out. And you do have to be aware that when you use manipulatives, kids fiddle with them sometimes. So, be patient, try to teach them the right way to do it. Oh, and one last thing about this. I think it would be good for all of you to share. If you come up with a good secret word that works and a sequence, share it with someone else. Start writing it down, keep a binder, make a little, Excel spreadsheet or something. Like, start keeping track of it, work together as a team. It's going to really help each other out. You will find, because I found this as a teacher, I think all teachers find this, that there are some activities that work really well with your students, your little group of 2 or your little group of 3. And other ones don't work as well with them. And you'll find also that there are certain activities that you like more than other activities, which is really legit. Just don't ever let your desires get in the way of what works best for them, because it might not be your favorite, but it might work really well for them, so do it. Okay? Any other questions right now? All right, so I'd like to give you another activity. So how about if we put our materials away and just kind of gather those babies up there and put them back in a paper clip? And as you're doing that, I'm just going to review what we've done so far. We did the fundamental reading circuit, right? Meaning, sound, and spelling, right? We talked about phonemes, of which there are 44. And we did hear it, say it, stretch it. Then we did hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it, or tapping it on our arm. We did that. And then we put that together on the template where you hear it, say it, stretch it, tap it, and then you spell it, and then you read it, and then you write it, and then you read it again. We did that one. And now we got to, and then we also did skywriting in there, and we did palm writing. Woo, you've gotten a lot. Am I giving you too much? You okay? You're good? Okay, because I want to, like, it's good if you have if you have a tool belt with lots of tools on it, then it's great. If you have a tool belt with a hammer and that's it, then everything looks like a nail, right? So you only got one tool. You want to have multiple tools on that tool belt. So let me give you another one. This is a writing activity with a pencil, and it's called a word ladder. It's called a word ladder. So I'm going to give you a word ladder, and you're going to need a piece of paper. You might use the back of that sheet of paper where I gave you the activities on there. I'm going to give you a basic word ladder, a basic word ladder. Okay, I'm going to give you a basic word ladder. I'll show it to you first, and then we'll practice it together. Okay, and then maybe you could come kind of wing it on your own. We'll do maybe 3 of them real quick. So a basic word ladder is you start with a word, hear it, say it, and then spell it. And you're going to start with the word down here at the bottom, and you're going to change 1 letter and 1 sound at a time. How many letters and sounds at a time? 1, because we're keeping this very basic for your crew. And as you do this, you'll understand how you can change it and make it more complex. But for this word ladder, I'm going to change a cat into a dog, 1 letter and sound at a time. So I'm going to start with the word cat. Maybe I would stretch it, or maybe I'd tap it. K-at, cat. Now I'm going to write it. I'm starting at the bottom. K-at, cat. And then I would say to my students, we're going to change 1 letter. Or maybe I say, we're going to change the first letter, and we're going to make the word sat. What's the word, everybody? Sat. Spell sat. S-at, S-A-T. And then they would see that. I'm modeling it for them so they know how it's done. Change 1 letter and turn sat into sit. And maybe I tap it out. S-it, sit. Or not. Oh, I changed the middle letter. Sit. Now I'm going to change sit into hit. Maybe I say to them, change the first letter. I'm very direct. I'm not giving them a whole lot of meaning, if at all, right now. I'm just concentrating on sounds and letters. Sounds and letters. Turn hit into the word hot. What's the word, everybody? Hot. hot. Maybe we'd stretch it out, maybe not. Ah. I haven't erased anything because I want the children to see this sequence. I want them to see that sequence. Okay? And then I might say, hot is the opposite of cold. I bring in some meaning, but I don't do that to the end. When do you do it? At the end. Because I really want them to concentrate on sounds and letters. Does that make sense? Because that's really, I think that's what these students are going to need a lot of, but you don't want to forget about meaning. Hot, and then I turn hot into hog, one letter. That's another word for a pig. And can you see where this is going? Change one letter and turn hog into dog, and I've changed a cat into a dog. Yeah, and then right, you do woo, happy hands, right, or the spelling the halo, the halo, or give them a microwave. Hey, give your partner a microwave, a little tiny wave. Nicely done. Or give them a round of applause. You can give yourselves a round of applause. You're a good audience. Has to go around, right? Give them a round of applause. Make it go around. So anything that you can do that way to make it fun too, just quickly, is great. So let's try a word ladder. Are you ready? We're going to start at the bottom, work to the top. Start at the bottom, work to the top. Find a place on your sheet. Okay, and let's try, we're going to kind of keep with the ah and the I sound right now, ah and I, so short I and short A. And start at the bottom, and we're going to make the word in. And that word is spelled I-N, in. And then right above that, we're going to make the word tin. Tin, it's a metal, or like a can. Add one letter, tin. And then maybe I ask my class, or I ask my student or students how do they write it, and I'm going to definitely show them that letter I added, tin. And now we're going to take off that first letter and make the word pin. What's the word, everybody? Pin. Changing one letter at a time. And then we're going to take off the last letter and put a new letter on, and we're going to make the word pit. What's the word, everybody? Pit. Now we're going to change the vowel sound. That's the middle letter. It's the vowel. And the word is pat. What's the word, everybody?
Pat.
Pat. The kids are doing this, and I'm modeling it for all of you. Yep. So the kids are doing it, and then I'm doing it, but they're doing it first, and then I'm modeling it for them. And if they make a mistake, then you stop, you say, what's the word? What letter makes that sound? You might need to stretch it out, right? So you stop and don't let them keep making mistakes. Stop, correct those mistakes, and point out where their mistake is, and also point out what they get right. So if you say to them, spell the word pat, and they do this, you would say, well, you got the p right, and you got the t right. It's that middle sound. The middle sound is ah. Ah, say that with me. Ah. And you might have to be direct and say to them, that's the A. Put an A down. What word? Pat. Does that make sense, everybody? And you'll figure this out as you become great teachers. You'll see this. Yes?
You're using lowercase letters.
Yes.
Is that what you should be using, or when do they learn the difference between a lowercase and an uppercase letter?
Typically, students are learning that in kindergarten and first grade. And if they're writing a lot in uppercase letters, I would model the lowercase letters, because you don't want them to get the bad habit, which we even as adults have sometimes, writing everything in caps or whatever. The correct way to do it is that this is a lowercase. The little guy and the big guy, yeah, right. There's all different kinds of ways of making it fun. So we have pat there. Let's just add a couple more here. Let's do the word fat. Let's change one letter, make fat. And you're going to do that. I would say, what's the word, everyone? That whole thing, do that. And maybe your students are done at this point. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that is enough. And you're going to stop there. but maybe you want to push them a little bit, or maybe they're having fun and they're actually into it, and you can figure out like another word to go to. And maybe you're 2 months down the road and they're ready for a 4-letter word. So you could say to them, we're going to add a letter in between here, and we're going to make the word fast. Let's stretch that word real quick. Ready? The word is fast. What's the word, everybody? Fast. Let's stretch it. Fast. Fast. Right. Clap together. Let's tap it out real quick. Fast. Fast. Right now, let's write it. You write it down on your word ladder. Fast. And then I'm going to show them fast. I pushed that letter S right in there. Now we have a whole new word. Oh, wow. And you know, you're all doing so well. I'm going to give you one last word. I love this word because it describes the universe, the cosmos, galaxies, this whole giant thing that we live in. And the word is vast. What's the word, everybody? Vast. Vast. Put that one down. Now, I'm experienced with it, and so I have it in my head. And I wrote this all down because I wanted to be expedient, you know, and I didn't want to flub in front of all of you. But I can also kind of just come up with these on my own, like one word after the other, switching it around. So I'll leave that up as you get your program up and running. You might come in with a list. And you're like, I've been working with the children on a and I, and they need more repetition. So I got to figure out some little words to give them that go back and forth between a and I. So you might do bad and then bid. And then you might do, then you might take off the H and do hid. And then you might take out the I and do had. So you kind of go back and forth them, because that's what they need. And you figured that out. There's 2 ways to do it. You can ask the student, do you know what a pit is? You know, and they might be like, yeah, it's the thing inside of a peach. Yeah. And you say, oh, there's another word for that. And if they don't know it, then what do? You give it to them. You tell them directly and explicitly. A pit, a hole in the ground. Because you do want to get to meaning, vocabulary. These children don't have vocabulary. They don't have the meaning that they need. So Vanessa's asking about the confusion between B's and D's, even in second graders. And this is a very interesting thing, and I do want to preface what I'm about to tell you, is that the human brain has an interesting trick that it plays. It comes from our evolution. And the human brain, it's called mirror image generalization. Mirror image generalization. And what the brain does is it says, this is a marker. I know that. Woo, what the heck is this? Your brain automatically knows what this is. It's a marker. It doesn't matter whether it's presented here or here, because this is a mirror image, but your brain instantly knows that if this is a marker, this is also a marker. If this is a water bottle, this is also a water bottle. If this is a water bottle, what's this? A water bottle. This comes from evolution because, like when we were, had lots of difficulties in the environment, like lots of threats. Like here comes a tiger from my left side. If I'm like, I have to spend time and figure it out, like it's coming from my right, what is that thing? I'm going to lose time and I'm not going to be able to flee, right? Or a bus, modern day, right? I know this is a bus. Gee, what is this thing coming at me? So you generalize. But when is this not this? When this is a B and this is a... So you're trying to teach children who, for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, have evolved to understand that this is exactly the same thing as that. They generalize. All children do this. And they also do this. This is exactly the same as this. They do that. They do that. Yeah, they do it a lot. And it's called mirror image generalization. But what happens? Hardworking teachers come along and they get children to stop doing that. And sometimes it takes a long time. So you might want to teach the bedpost. Here's the bed. and you're going to be sleeping in there, and this is the B, and the end of it's the D. Or you might want to teach them, left, this is the B, feel it in your hand, make it over here, and this is the D. And you just have to keep at doing those kind of multisensory things and keep presenting it to them until they finally break the habit. And some children, it takes them a long time, especially children who have dyslexia. It's very difficult for them to get it. And it doesn't have anything to do with their vision. It has to do with the way their brain is processing it.
You can do the bed with the thumb. So
There you
use
go.
that bed, but use the thumb. So
Yeah, can you show that to everybody there?
you
Yeah.
take bed, and they've made a little bed there, and then you remember this is the B, this is the D. So it's kind of combining the hand thing with the little picture.
And Alicia is giving a very important thing. You want to stop them at the point of their mistake and then correct it. And sometimes that can be a little frustrating for students, but you have to find that line. You don't want to turn them off, but at the same time, you don't want them to learn wrong information and have it stick in their head. Because we're awash in misinformation, aren't we? So, I mean, at the very basic level, we want to start with that. Thank you for that. Yeah. And did you have a question or a comment, sir? Yes, right.
Some skill tips on correcting without making them feel guilty or bad. We avoid saying, no, that's wrong, or here's the correct. What are some skills there?
Yeah, I think a nice way to do it would be to say, you're always compliment their effort. You're really working hard. You're putting out a lot of effort. That's great. And you might say too, if they've got cat spelled like this, just for example, you might say, again, point out what's right. Woo, you got that 2/3 right. 66% we're talking for you mathematicians. A and the T, at, and K does say k, but in this case, we're going to be spelling it with a C. That's how adults spell it. When you're learning it, you might be temporarily spelling it that way, but when you're an adult or a proficient, writer or reader, you're going to be spelling it C-A-T. This is the correct way. I would approach it like that. I wouldn't necessarily say, that's wrong, but you could definitely point out what's right and then say, we're going to make it totally correct now, and we're going to do C-A-T. What's the correct spelling? C-A-T. Write it on your palm. Write it down here. Okay? That's a great one. Yes. Anybody else? We good? Okay. So this is a word ladder. Why don't you try with a partner? Pick. Maybe try to stick with the A's and the I's, or you can go with O and I's, short O words and I words, and see if you could make a word ladder and have your partner do it. You don't understand what I'm saying? You don't understand the task? See if you can come up with a sequence of words and ask your partner, like, okay, we're going to make a word ladder. Start at the bottom, go up to the top, and start with a word like maybe on, or a word like in, something like that. So I'll give you like 3 or 4 minutes to kind of figure this out. Okay, folks, I'm going to start calling our attention back here up to the front. I guess I know some of you are filling out your form that you need to have, so please do that, and then you're going to be turning that in. So you might want to take a minute and do that. But in the meantime, are there any other questions about the word ladders? Because I went around and was answering some questions. People had good questions about how this works. And you understand that the main thing is don't get too wide with your teaching. We were talking back here about like silent E's and turning it into A sounds and when to give meaning cues. It's fine to sneak some meaning in there. That's great. And when the kids are ready, when your students are ready, when the children are ready for a word ladder that goes like this and starts with slim and then goes to slime. Oh boy, what do we have to add to make that letter say its name? You got to get that silent E in the end. It's going to reach over and give the I a little encouragement to say its name, or it's going to give it a little pinch to say its name, or it's going to give it a pat on the back so it says its name. And then you're going to turn Slim, take off a letter and turn it into the fruit, lime, citrus fruit. And you're going to kind of go through these kind of lessons. Or you're going to say, now turn lime into lame. But the students have to have mastered this kind of a list first. Don't go to this list until they've mastered this list, because they will become confused, and then you will become frustrated because they're frustrated. And you want to remember that the goal here is mastery. You really want to work so that they're like accurate. They come in one day and man, they go through that word ladder and woo, you think they've got it. What do you want to do the next day?
The same thing again.
I would say do a similar thing again. Make sure that they've really mastered it. Because the next day they might, have had a rough night. There might be things going on and they really need some extra practice and they might need it again. So does that make sense? Okay. All right. I think you're doing a really good job there. A little microwave for the crew. Nicely done. And isn't it wonderful that we're all getting together here on the same page today? So kudos to the program for allowing this to happen so that you can all hear the same information. That will help. That will help. That will really help you to stay together. Okay, we're good with that? All right, I have 2 more activities to give to you. And to do this next activity, you want to have this word ladder list of in, tin, pin, pit, pat, fat, fast, and vast. So if you don't have that word ladder, write it down, okay? But if you do have it, you're in good shape. So I'll give you just a minute if anybody needs to copy that word ladder down. By the way, I love word ladders. I think they're the best because you can do all kinds of things with them. And I come back and we could spend a couple hours just on word ladders. Okay, we got that word ladder down pretty much there. For the next couple of activities, you need a word list. So you could use the word ladder that you just did with your students. Or maybe you just come up with a list of your own and you write it down. Or maybe when you all really start to coordinate and share, you're sharing word lists with each other, right? So you have a word list. Or maybe the program's going to provide you with a nice sequence of words at some point. But no matter how, you need a word list, okay? And one thing that you can do to promote fluency, that is called automatic naming, rapid automatic naming of words, not sentences, but just words, is I read, we read, you read. And you might have heard of this. I read, we read, you read. What's it called, everybody? I read, we read, you read. And it's super simple. You have a list like this, and I read it first. Watch me, everybody. And then you look and you make sure that their eyes are on the list or on you or whatever, however you're doing it. Vast, fast. I'm just reading it right now. Fat, pat, pit, pin, tin, in. Or I can read it the other way. I can read it from the bottom up. Either way. So in, tin, pin, pit, pat, fat, fast, vast. And I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to go too slow. So find a medium. It's like Goldilocks in the middle. And then I read it. Then what comes next? We read it. So you're going to read it with me. Stay with me. Try to match my inflection. Here we go. Ready? In, tin, pin, pit, pat, fat, fast, vast. And now you read it. I read, we read, you read it. Are you ready? Stay together. Here we go.
In, tin, pin, pit, pat, fat, fast, vast.
Okay? And that's all it is. That's all it is. I read, we read, you read. You provide the model, you provide the correct pronunciation, and then if we read together, monitor your children. If they have a problem with a word like vast and they're not forming it correctly, you might need to stop and say, get your mouth in the right position. Look. And make your voice box go. Try that. Put your lips there and feel that. It's a voiced. That's a voiced consonant. So I read, we read, you read. It's as simple as that. And then after you do that, you want to give them another repetition. So they've already gotten a repetition because they've got the word ladder down. Then you did I read, we read, you read. That's 4 repetitions right there. Now we're going to do look, touch, say. What is it, everybody? Look, touch, say. It's really simple. The first part is, do you have your word list there? Okay. I'm going to say to you, look for a word, touch it, and then you don't say anything until I say it. Okay? So look for the word fat, touch it, say it.
Fat.
Look for the word vast, touch it, say it.
Vast.
Look for the word in, touch it, say it.
In.
Look for the word pit, touch it. Up. Say it. Right. And you want to make sure, if you're working with 3 kids, like make sure give them time. Because 2 kids might do it fast and want to say it, but you have to wait a little bit for the 3rd child to get it. Okay? And then you can have them be the teacher. They can be the teacher. Like who in your group of 3, who wants to be the teacher? And do that little routine. They get to say the word. They say, look for the word, da-da-da, touch it, and then they have to look and make sure their compatriots are touching it, and then they say it. They're in effect, they love that. They love that. So practice it with your partner real quick. Do a look, touch, say. Let me give you a little bit more about this. So once you're doing look, touch, say for words. It's word recognition, right? Automatic word recognition. And we can also do it for sounds. So it would be like this. Look for a word that starts with t, touch it. Look for the word that starts with t, touch it. Say it. Tin, right. See how that works? So that's sound. Look for the words that start with p. What's the sound, everybody? P. Touch those words. Tell your partner what 2 words you touched. Okay? So there we're looking for sounds. These 2 would be tricky for children because your mouth is in the same position. Unvoiced, voiced, unvoiced, voiced, fast, vast, woo. So you have to watch out. That might be too difficult for some students, but other ones, they might be okay with that. So I might say to my students, look for the word that starts with it's voiced, touch it, and then say it. And they would say vast. That's at the sound level.
Do you teach the tool of feeling? For the
Oh, yes. Yeah. Where does the sound come from? Here. Right? Where's the sound come from? Here. Point to it. Point to where the sound's coming from. Your teeth are together, right? And then like your mouth kind of moves back and opens up a little bit. Some schools have these things called sound cards, sound letter cards. And these sounds and mouth positions are really important because, like, again, with a sound like p, it's very gentle, right? And the mouth movement for b is the same. B, but this is one's it's voiced, like the explosive sound comes out. B, p, p, pit. B, bit. It's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky. So it really does help them, show them where it is, and then talk to them about voiced or unvoiced. And as you practice this, I think you'll get better at knowing which sounds are voiced and unvoiced. We don't have time to give you a whole literacy training, but we're doing the best we can. And you're a good student, so you're going to figure this out, okay? What's that? Yes, that's right, absolutely. Yeah, compliments. Okay, so you can do it for sounds, you can do it for letters and patterns, like point to the word that starts with a T. Say it. Point to a word that starts with a V. Say it. Fast, right. So there you're looking at letters. I could say, point to all the words that have the AT pattern. There's two of them, AT pattern, AT. Say them both. What are they? So this is for patterns, Do you see the difference? So we did it for words. We did it for sounds. Now we're doing it for letters or patterns. And I might say, find the word that has the IT pattern or the IT pattern. Or find all the words that have the IN pattern. Point to all those words that have the IN pattern. Do it real quick. Tell your partner what your favorite IN word is. And then finally, you might want to do meaning. So we got lots of repetitions here. So you could do words for meaning. Point to the word that means a hole in the ground or a seed in a fruit. Point to the word that means huge, expansive, really wide. Hold on there, though. Say it. Yes. Nicely done. Right. And they will get excited and they'll want to say it. But that is for what? Meaning. That's for meaning. So this look, touch, say for meaning. I've given you a whole lot. And I think this would be a good place for you to find 2 on that sheet of all the things we've talked about, 2, and practice 2 of those activities that we did with your partner, right? So pick 2 activities that you want to do from that sheet and practice it with your partner. Pretend that one's a teacher, one's a child, and then see if there's any difficulties that you have that we want more questions and answers about it, okay? But I'm going to give you about 5 minutes for this, to do this, okay? So pick 2 and do a little bit of practicing with the partner there. And I hope that you see the activities that we've done today, they are at a basic level, but that's what children need. And I don't think that they're baby, though. There's no little pictures of teddy bears and stuff on these. You don't have to have that. You can be a little particular in your words, like when you're using that word vast that we had up here, you could say to your older students, man, that's an intense word. This is like a word that astrophysicists use. And any kind of tricks that you can do to make it more engaging for those older readers. The same thing with like even the tapping. This might be for younger ones, this might be for older ones. And you might even say to those older students, like, we could do this, that's cool, but I'll teach you one that like the older kids usually do, and it's this one. And maybe that's like a way of getting them to do that one. And I've been in classrooms of students who have dyslexia, and they've learned to tap like this. You'll see them, their hands are down here, because maybe they don't want anybody to see when you're in 7th grade, but they're tapping away down there, because that's going to help them to really figure out that word. So those kinds of things can be very helpful. Please realize, tutors, that spelling is more difficult than reading. Children's spelling achievement will lag. It will lag their reading achievement because there's nothing to hold on to in spelling. You just have to pull it down, right? But in reading, what you might have a picture, you definitely have context, you might have background knowledge, all that kind of stuff helps you to read a word that you're not quite sure of. But if you're not quite sure of spelling, you just might pull down the wrong word. I do it all the time. I'm not a good speller. So there's that comment. And then I did want to also just mention to you before I send you on your way here, just one thing about letter names too, because if you're working with the young ones and they're at this very basic level and they're not high achieving yet, and they will be, but they're not yet, they might have a difficult time with letter names. And when you think about it, what's the name of this letter? What's the first sound when you say S? It's eh. That's confusing. What's the name of this letter? What's the first sound in that letter's name? Yeah, and then it goes ch. Or something, H. So yeah, right. You might encounter students who can't figure this out because letter names can be very difficult for some students. And it's not that we don't want to teach letter names, we do. But just for some students, you might want to go lightly. Don't worry too much. You might want to really concentrate on, look at this letter. The sound is S. What's the sound? Look at this letter. The sound is F. What's the sound? Tell me the sound of this letter. Tell me the sound of this letter. And I didn't mention any letter names. I didn't mention any letter names in that little piece of instruction. I'm not saying don't teach letter names. I'm not saying that. I'm saying with some students, if they really have a hard time with letter names, like don't get too caught up on it. Just treat it lightly and then keep moving, okay? And then circle back. Okay? Well, I think we're at the end of our 2 hours. I just want, again, I'll say what I say to teachers all the time. I thank you, and not for necessarily being here with me, but I thank you for your commitment, to these children, because teachers and tutors, you make the world a better place. The world is dark. It can be full of destruction. And what are you all doing? You're making something, right? And what's more beautiful than teaching a child to read or giving a child a bit of comfort at the end of a long day, right? I mean, I get all emotional about it because it's so amazing. So thank you so much. I wish you the best. And just real quick, if you ever want to get in touch with me, I do have this website, and you can get in touch with me through the website. It's markweaklandliteracy.com. And I think, I did actually, I forgot about this. I actually had my wits about me. I put files of some of these activities in my file cabinet. See up there, it's a file cabinet. It's a PDF. You can go down and download the PDF. And if you forget stuff, it will remind you. Also, I do have a YouTube channel. It's also cleverly titled Mark Weakland Literacy. And if you go on there, you can find a video of me doing word ladders. You can find me doing a video of the tapping. So if you forget how to do it and you need a model, just go on there and I'm doing it. You'll see me. It's a good reminder. And of course, it's all free. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, nicely done, everybody. You're great students. Go forth and prosper, man. Yeah, that's cool. All right.
Mark has charisma.
Yes, he does.
He's gifted, and he's smart and compassionate at the same time.
It was awesome. I was really impressed with how Mark basically boiled a bunch of information down and gave everybody was walking away with some very useful activities that you could do.
His hints, his advice was very practical, and I'll definitely be using some of it. I think it'll make a big difference. And there's no greater joy than helping kids succeed, so